Movement Not Miracles time. It's Friday. I don't actually know what date it is. Is it the 23rd? No, 22nd. 22nd of May. Friday the 22nd of May. Movement Not Miracles with Eat, Move, Be Happy. I'm Anna. And lost what I was going to say then. I was going to say the sun is shining, and it sort of is, but it's a little bit windy out there today. Hopefully everyone's had a good week and we're getting ready for the weekend. So what I thought we would do today is a bit of a twist and turn. So all things twisty, things that you can do seated or standing. So you can mix all of these between seated and standing, more or less. There's a version for each, and I'll try and show you each one. But aiming at keeping our back moving and mobile. So sometimes if we're sitting still for long periods of time, or we've had a particularly tough workout, your back can feel a bit stiff, and that's either through muscle stiffness or joint stiffness. So some of these twists will help you work through those and either stretch your muscles so that they will move more, and move through your vertebrae in your spine to keep that nice and mobile. The stiffer we get in our back, then it restricts our movement, and also we can get some aches and pains that come along with that, which is not ideal in any which way. So the more movement we can help, then it eases that. So that's the aim for today. So we're going to start with my favourite. Oh, in fact, no, we're not going to start with my favourite. We're going to start with Sarah's favourite, and then we're moving on to my favourite. So you can do this seated or standing. I'm actually going to do it standing because I have been seated this morning. And as ever, it is good to keep moving, so not staying in the same position, whether that's seated or standing. So as ever, start with your weight evenly distributed. So we don't want hips sticking out or standing on one leg. Do you know, standing on one leg, even if we're, I don't know, preparing dinner or washing up or waiting for the kettle to boil, and we stand on one leg and let our hips stick out, is really not good for us. We want to try and keep our weight evenly distributed, just from the point of view of even distribution of weight through both joints, but also to keep our joints moving in the way that they are designed to move. So we're going to actually start with some twists, and you can fold your arms across your body, and we're just aiming for a twist through the whole of our back at the moment. So we did some of these or something similar yesterday, and we aimed at just moving through the upper part of our back. But for this mobility, I want you to aim for bringing that shoulder as far forward as you can and really twisting through the whole. So your hips are going to move around as well. And we're just going to do a few on each side, just to start to introduce and remind our back that it can move. Because if you're anything like me, I need to wake my body up gently, and then it sort of realises that, oh, this is what we're doing. And you'll get a little bit more movement as we go through. So that's a nice sort of all over for the whole back. Now we're going to do my favourite, so side bends. So we've twisted through our horizontal plane. Now we're going to bend through the other plane. And again, I want you to think about your whole back with this one. We did an elephant ear version yesterday where we had the hands behind our head and we were just focusing on our upper thoracic. Let's see if we can wake everything up. So we can start with reaching down with one arm and then reaching down with the other. So again, I'm quite stiff at the moment. As you can see, I can't go much past my knee, and that's okay. You can widen your stance a little bit if that helps. Get a little bit more movement. And then what I want you to do is to reach across with your arm. So you get the mobility through your spine and the stretch through your side, and really reach over with that arm. Oh, I'm having a bit of a problem with my bra strap this morning. Down you go. And we'll just do a couple more on each side because I do like these. These really do help my back wake up. Okay, get the idea. So we should be starting to feel a little bit more awake now. So I said about hands behind your back. We're going to do that one now. So I want you to think of, clasp your hands behind your head and your elbows back behind your head. Don't forget when you're standing, make sure your bottom doesn't stick out. So we have to work through our glutes, the muscles in your bum, to push your hips forward. So think of tilting that pelvis and just keep everything stable through working through your core. So grip through your tummy and grip through your bottom and have your weight evenly spread. So again, you can still do this seated. So if you're sit on the edge of a chair, don't lean so that your back is against the back of the chair. And this time, I want you to keep the tension through your tummy to keep the lower part of your back still. So we are going to just try and get a bit more movement through just our upper back now. And this is sometimes a bit tougher for us to access because we get much more movement through our lower back and our mid back. And if we're not careful, our upper back can be a bit lazy and a bit ignored, and it doesn't move as much. So we're just trying to encourage it to do a bit more movement. Okay, that's fine. Just jiggle your shoulders a little bit. I'm just checking what's next. All right, another twisty one. So if you're sitting in a chair, you can still do this one. So imagine I am sitting on the edge of a chair. I know I'm kneeling down. So what we're going to do with this one is, again, one arm behind our head, and we're going to twist, aiming to get down to your knees. Now you probably won't, but we can still do this move. So you're twisting away and then you're twisting back round. So if you're doing this kneeling on the floor, it's the same sort of move, but this time we're going to take our elbow towards our other arm, and then you're twisting up and back. So again, nice movement, and breathe through the move and see if you can get that elbow as high as you can, and then we'll swap to the other side. So your elbow comes down and a nice twist. So again, this is aiming at our upper back and our mid back. As you can probably see, mine is quite stiff today. I'm getting a little bit more movement now. Well, that's quite an easy one to do, and as I say, you can do it if you're seated or if you're kneeling on the floor. Right, we're going to do some of the thoracic rotations now. So I'm going to be kneeling. I'm just going to roll my mat up. So I've got something to kneel on. So you can do these without a wall. The wall, it just helps as a bit of a guide, how far, the line that you have. So you get a bit of feedback from the wall if you're leaning away, or as you twist round, are you moving away from the wall? But you can actually do them without. So what we're aiming to do, in a knee up, to start off with. So, and you've got your arms, so your hips are pointing forwards, arms as close to the wall as you can without leaning on the wall, and then your inner arm, you're going to lift up and sweep it round and twist through the whole of your back. So you're aiming for nice, so your arms are like this, but the other way against the wall. And think of really stretching so that your arms are parallel to the floor and stretching away from you. So we're going to go sweep it up and round. So my right knee is up and my right arm is moving, and we're just going to keep hips forward, and it's the movement we're looking for, but finish off at the end of that move. So that's 5 on one side, and then we're going to switch round and do it on the other side. So, oh no, wrong knee, inner knee, up, arms ready. So left knee is up this time, so the left arm sweeps round. Don't forget to keep breathing, that bit's quite important. Sometimes when we're concentrating and we're trying to do a particular move, we hold our breath, but believe me, that's not what we want. Make sure that back arm stays out, that's what I have to focus on, because it's really easy to let that creep forwards. Okay, so we've got a couple more of these to do, so I'm just going to turn around now. So let me check which one. Oh, this is a, don't get much movement out of this one, but this one is a really, really good one. This is right at the end. So if you think of as you sweep your arm round and you're in the end position, so what we're aiming to do here is to keep our body twisted round, and at the very end of that move, I just want you to think of twisting that arm away from the wall. So one arm is coming away from the wall and one arm is moving towards it. So my right leg is up, so my right arm comes away and my left arm moves towards it. And it's at the very end of the range of movement. So you don't get much movement, but it just encourages the final bit of movement in that upper thoracic region. I'm going to do the same on the other side. So it's a good idea to do the first one first, just to wake you back up and remind it what it's doing, and then do this one second, because you've already got the memory in your head of what's going to happen. So the back arm moves away from the wall and the front arm moves towards it, but we're stable through the hips, so we're not letting the body move, the whole of the body move. It's the upper part of our back. Don't let your arms sink in. Okay, so that feels a little bit like I've been stretched, which is quite good. Just checking the time for you, and I aim to do these within 20 minutes. So, final one. It's a kneeling crocodile rotation, but again you can do this if you're seated, and you can do these crocodile rotations lying on the floor. I've done those before. We've done this one before as well, but we're staying kneeling for this one. So similar sort of thing, but this time it's the other knee that is up. So if you imagine that your arms are the crocodile jaws, so we're keeping our hips pointing forwards. We want to be as close to the wall without leaning on it, and we want to try and keep that distance from the wall as we open that jaw. So we're actually stretching the other way, and that feels quite nice. And you should get a twist through the whole of your back with this one. Don't forget to breathe. I can't actually remember how many that is. I must have caught Karen's countitis. I think that's 5. You can obviously do a few more of these, and I would encourage you to revisit throughout the day and over the weekend. Don't just wait for these sessions. I mean, it's great that I hope there are people doing this with me and I'm not just wittering away on my own. But you can actually, oh no, wrong way, this way around. you could do some more a little bit later this afternoon, because as far as mobility is concerned, get your back moving and keep it moving. It's better than not moving it now until the next time we do a session and it's going to be as stiff as it was before we started. And some of these mobility moves you can do, maybe not this one whilst you, well, you could do it while you're waiting for the kettle to boil, but you can certainly do these moves in the middle of other activities throughout the day. And that's the idea, that you keep things moving and don't ever get to the point where you think, oh, flipping out, my back's aching. Prevention is better than trying to sort it out when it's happened. So that was my twist and turns session for this Friday. Have a lovely weekend. Bank holiday Monday, so I will do a session on Monday. It helps keep me focused, and it'll make me do some mobility stuff. So I'll be here on Monday at midday, and in the meantime, have a great weekend. Last day of Mental Health Awareness Week today, so I'm going to leave you with a thought for the weekend. Spend the weekend thinking about how you look after yourself. So what sorts of things do you do to make sure that your mental health and well-being is on top form? Because if you don't look after yourself, then it's really difficult for you to support others. And just a little story to illustrate that. For those of you who have been lucky enough to go on an aeroplane, maybe for your holidays, I know none of us are particularly flying at the moment, but if you think about the safety briefing that happens, and the stewardesses would say, if the cabin pressure decreases, then the oxygen masks will come down. Put your own oxygen mask on first before helping others. And it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? If we can't breathe properly, then we're not going to be in a position where we can help other people. And I believe, we at Eat, Move, Be Happy believe, it's exactly the same for mental health and well-being. So we all have mental health. Look after yourself. So think about some things that you can do this weekend. It might be some quiet time, some reading time, some relaxing time, listening to some music, whatever it is for you, but it's useful to write it down. And if you want some more information, check out some of our articles and top tips in our mental health series on Eat, Move, Be Happy. So www.eatmovebehappy.com. There are different subscription levels, and you get 5 days free to have a look around the website. Hopefully, we think that you'd want to stay and join our wellbeing community that helps you continue to look after your mental health and physical health and well-being. So let us know how you go, and maybe jot some things down in the peer support group of those things that you're going to do to look after yourself, because it's really good to share with other people. Have a great weekend. I will see you on Monday. Bye.